Welcome to another video in the Luxygen world of billionaires, luxury, and megaprojects. Be sure to like, smash the notification bell, and subscribe to our channel as we will be uploading Luxygen-rich videos frequently. China garnered international news after declaring that it had completed a fully functional 1,500-bed hospital in just 5 days. This incredible feat of engineering and logistics took place in Nangong, Hubei Province, in response to a COVID-19 surge. It was reminiscent of a period during the pandemic when workers in Wuhan built a 1,000-bed hospital in just over a week. Even in the face of the coronavirus, China's eager builders are not only building hospitals at breakneck speed, but also working at breakneck speed in the fields of high-speed rail, bridge construction, and skyscraper development. Today, we are donning our hard hats and wondering how China manages to develop so quickly. China's modern economic boom has been nothing short of spectacular, lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, urbanizing its population faster than any other civilization in history, and building some pretty amazing infrastructure along the way, including the world's largest dam, the world's largest airport, and a veritable forest of gleaming new skyscrapers. The People's Republic of China, for example, has spent over $300 billion on nearly 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail infrastructure, putting it light years ahead of every other country on the planet, and demonstrating its commitment to a sustainable public transportation-centric future for its 1.5 billion people. When you consider that the project only began in 2008, this isn't awful. So, how do they do it so quickly? Awesome technology is a part of the solution. Take, for example, the aptly titled SLJ-900, often known as the Iron Monster, which was created by the Zhejiang Railway Design Institute and built by Beijing's WOW Joint Machinery Company. It is nothing short of a paradigm revolution in the railway industry. Because of China's typically rough terrain, much of the country's rail network is built on bridges and viaducts. These viaducts are traditionally built with heavy-duty cranes that meticulously hoist small wedges of span into place. The Iron Monster takes a different method, rolling around the bridge sections that have already been constructed on its 64 wheels. It then proceeds to slide huge swaths of new bridge out over the abyss, ready to be installed on the next pier. The monster then rolls back to fetch the next segment, which is manufactured trackside in a temporary factory that moves along with the project. This 58-ton, 91-meter-long beast not only looks fantastic, but it also helps the railway be built faster and more cost-effectively than more traditional methods or procedures. In China's southeast, a larger cousin of the Iron Monster, known as the Kunlun, is now constructing the colossal 9.1-mile Meizhou Bay Bridge. Kunlun is capable of moving massive 1,000-ton box girders that are 40 meters long. These massive machinery are far heavier than any train the viaducts would ever be expected to carry, which is probably rather comforting from a safety standpoint. When completed, these trains will travel at speeds ranging from 120 to 220 miles per hour along these tracks. But the Chinese aren't stopping there. They are now trialing a prototype maglev train in Shanghai, which might be zipping passengers to work at 350 miles per hour by 2025. Another industry in which the Chinese excel at using machines is tunneling. These boring machines, which are everything but boring, are said to have been designed with the help of German freelance engineering consultants and can borrow up to 10 meters per day at a cost of merely $10 million per kilometer. That may seem expensive until you consider that a kilometer of tunnel in the United States costs around $50 million. However, construction technology is only half of the solution for China's rail network and its lightning-fast hospital development program. In fact, the character of China's political and regulatory system is perhaps the most important determinant in how quickly things are developed there. Compare and contrast the construction of a high-speed railway in China with that of a similar project in any Western country. Before a single meter of track is installed in the West, thorough feasibility studies are commissioned to determine whether the line would be economical. Otherwise, there's a slim possibility it'll be built. The railways in China are subsidized by the government. Much of the network, particularly in the country's less populous regions, constantly loses money. For example, in 2016, the Zhengzhou-Xi'an high-speed railway only ran 30 trains, resulting in a multi-billion-dollar loss. Other variables, such as the harsh temperature conditions in Guangzhou, result in exorbitantly high maintenance expenses that wipe out revenues. That's not a problem when Beijing's well-funded central government is footing the bill. When environmentally sensitive habitats are found to be threatened by development, high-speed lines in Western countries are sometimes delayed for years or rerouted at great expense. For better or worse, this is considered less of an issue in China, and as a result, things move much more quickly. Another stumbling block for developers in the West is the purchase of land, which is sometimes prohibitively expensive and can force even well-run projects to slug it out for years, if not decades. The situation in China, on the other hand, is completely different. If the government decides it wants the land, the lease is simply terminated. Compensation is frequently given, but there is usually no right of appeal. Fundamentally, the nature of electoral politics means that Western politicians are typically hesitant to sign off on potentially contentious projects, such as railway lines, whose advantages may not be apparent for years. If a large, noisy construction project is likely to irritate voters, any politician defending a narrow majority in the next election will want to avoid making any difficult decisions. This is a huge waste of time. In China, senior officials are not required to answer to their constituents. To be sure, the arrangement isn't to everyone's liking, but China's long-term attitude is clearly beneficial to the country's construction industry. When the Chinese government declared that it will spend 2.8 trillion yuan on railway infrastructure from 2016 to 2020, companies like Beijing Wao Joint Machinery Company realized they could invest time and money with confidence. Knowing that a slew of rich contracts would follow, all that R&D would be justified. China's massive infrastructure program isn't limited to the country's borders. In 2013, Chinese President Xi Jinping unveiled the Belt and Road Initiative, a massive plan to build modern railways, roads, and shipping channels spanning broad swaths of Asia, Europe, and Africa. Between Mombasa and Nairobi, for example, a railway was built following the Chinese style, using Chinese machines in May 2017. Its sleek, modern tracks sped over the Kenyan countryside at a brisk 700 meters per day, and the project was completed 18 months ahead of schedule. To be clear, the government does not fund every building project China undertakes. The country's high-rise development is largely due to private enterprise, but the country's rising economy and fast urbanizing population have allowed construction firms and engineers to be quite inventive in this area. Take, for example, this wall-climbing monster, also known as the skyscraper machine, which was created by a team of Chinese engineers who filed 8 patents. Realizing that their clever 2010 monster has already been employed on a number of 100-story and higher skyscraper projects, including China's Beijing's highest structure at 528 meters. Each of the wall-climbing monster's 12 hydraulic jacks can support 400 tons of weight, and it takes 3 days to build an entire level. It's also hurricane-resistant. Some critics believe that China is expanding far too quickly, citing a slew of so-called ghost cities across the city as evidence. Many of these silent skyscrapers, they believe, are doomed to remain empty, while the global economy sputters. However, China believes that its population will continue to grow and urbanize, and that it is thus preferable to have all that infrastructure in place in a systemic manner, rather than allowing it to develop haphazardly as it does in the West. Critics also refer to China's dismal building safety record and workers' rights, implying that while a hospital erected in 5 days may appear impressive in propaganda videos, it is unlikely to last. Why? Poured concrete, which is used in practically every modern building, takes about 28 days to cure and dry. If that process is accelerated for any reason, cracks are more likely to form, which will surely lead to worse difficulties down the road. In the UK, the ExCeL Convention Centre in London was changed into a high-tech converted hospital in just 9 days last spring. When the pandemic is over, the ExCeL will revert to its previous function. Even if it's less eye-catching from the standpoint of a headline writer, that's obviously a considerably more sustainable and cost-effective proposition all around. Still, there's no denying that China's breakneck construction boom is a sight to behold. Ambitious new technology, combined with nearly limitless budgets and unprecedented levels of central planning, demonstrate what may be accomplished when human force and inventiveness are applied to the enormous challenges of our day. Thank you for joining us today for today's video. Let us know your thoughts on how China builds so fast and your opinion on China's expansion. Stay tuned to the Luxygen channel where we will feature more fulfilling videos in the days and weeks to come. Here at Luxygen, we wish you and yours prosperity in 2022 and beyond. Don't forget that by liking this clip, as well as subscribing within our channel and clicking on that notification bell, not only are you helping us grow, but also other people around the world.